Here's what's coming up on Network Africa. Liberia's former Chief Justice and 3 family members sentenced to life imprisonment for murder. Democratic Republic of Congo's Constitutional Court confirms President Felix Tshisekedi's poll victory. Plus, the World Health Organization gives 1 million cholera vaccines to Zambia amid its deadly outbreak. Hello and welcome to the programs today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Liberia. The former Chief Justice, Gloria Scott, and 3 of her family members have been sentenced to life imprisonment for murder. The 4 women were also found guilty of conspiracy and raising a false alarm to law enforcement officers. Well, they were initially arrested and indicted in June last year in connection with the death of Charlotte Musu, who was reportedly Ms. Scott's niece. In February 2023, Charlotte was murdered by unknown people at Ms. Scott's residence in Burrowville, northwest Liberia. The former Chief Justice had insisted at the time that intruders attacked her residence and killed her niece. But after a 5-month trial, a court in Monrovia, the capital, has now found her and 3 family members guilty of Charlotte's murder. Ms. Scott's lawyers, however, say they will appeal the judgment. Well, let's get more on this from Liberian journalist joining us, George Momo in Monrovia. Thank you so much for your time, George. Let's begin with the reactions to this verdict. How are Liberians reacting to this after a 5-month trial?
Thank you, Lyot, for joining me from Liberia capital. So when the court brought down this sentence, presided over by Judge Roosevelt Willie, so there was mixed reaction, especially the former Chief Justice and former Senator of Maryland County, Madam Gloria Musu Scout, being a lead lawyer of the former opposition United Party, now incoming administration. So you have people from both political party and especially those from the outgoing government, and they're saying the judge did what he could relative to the evidences produced in court. They were all capable enough to hold the ex-Chief Justice and her 3 family members for the crime of murder, while those who are part of the political party, talking about the United Party of former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, they are saying this was politically motivated. But then what we're getting is the fact that all lawyers have announced an appeal to the Supreme Court that happened to be the final arbiter of justice here in our country to interpret the country organic law. So they are optimistic that the Supreme Court is going to overturn the ruling of Judge Roosevelt Willie. So as a journalist, this morning we're able to gather the view from her native Maryland, especially Callaway District, where the former Chief Justice from. And many of those we spoke to, ranging from the statutory superintendent, youth leader, women leaders, they were all saying they were shocked by this. They believe that the politics being played into her sentence to life imprisonment, including her family members. But then they're optimistic that the fact that her lawyers have taken a appeal to the higher court, they're optimistic that the ruling is going to be overturned, and they cannot wait to see the day that she's going to be set free. If the ruling is going to be overturned, in fact, they have promised to come in their numbers from her native Maryland to celebrate the day she's going to be set free.
All right, then we'll just have to wait and see, to see if the ruling would be overturned. Even, her lawyers say they will appeal the judgment. But this life sentence, no doubt, dents the reputation of the former Chief Justice. Just talk to us very briefly about her legacy, during her tenure.
And so during her tenure, she being one of Liberia, astute Chief Justice serving the country in that area. And the fact that she's a female, many describe her tenure at the judiciary as remarkable. And they saw justice being dispensed. They saw fairness in terms of dispensing justice, whether someone is guilty or not guilty. And they've been celebrating her because away from serving as Chief Justice, like I earlier said, she once served as Senator of Maryland County. She headed the Constitutional Review Committee appointed by President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She performed well in that. So they believe that the former Chief Justice service to nation have been remarkable. So many of those who've been following her and appreciating her for her good work, looking at the life imprisonment as actually a shock to them.
George Momo, Liberian journalist with the Kids TV in Monrovia. Thank you for joining us.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much.
Moving on, a court in Switzerland has ruled that the trial of a former Gambian minister can go ahead on charges including murder, torture and rape. Usman Sonko denies these accusations, which is said to have happened under the repressive regime of the Gambia's former president, Yahya Jammeh. The Swiss court on Tuesday dismissed the defense lawyer's argument that it did not have jurisdiction to hear the case. Mr. Sonko fled to Switzerland in 2016 and is currently on trial under the principle of universal jurisdiction that allows countries to prosecute people even if the alleged crimes were committed elsewhere. Well, the court case is expected to last a month, with a verdict coming in March. Well, the International Court of Justice is scheduled to commence the hearing of the case in which South Africa accuses Israel of committing genocide in Gaza, starting on Thursday. Currently, 5 countries have openly expressed their support for the case, while only Israel and the United States have opposed it. Well, South Africa filed a complaint at the end of December, alleging that Israel is committing genocide in the Gaza conflict. The complaint advocates for an end to the military campaign that has resulted in the deaths of thousands of Palestinians, including children. The initial hearing at the International Court of Justice in The Hague is expected to address the genocide case involving South Africa and Israel. This development is particularly significant as the global community is calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Well, South Africa has held a funeral service for prominent photographer and anti-apartheid activist Peter Magubane in Johannesburg. Well, he was granted a provincial official funeral service, which is a special funeral service reserved for distinguished people, specifically designated by the President of South Africa. Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa and former President Thabo Mbeki were among the attendees. He has been eulogized as a key figure in South Africa's liberation movement due to his coverage of key events in the struggle against apartheid, including the 1976 Soweto uprising, in which hundreds of protesting black students were killed. Well, his work pitted him against apartheid authorities, leading to his arrest, solitary confinement for 586 days and a 5-year ban from his job. Well, Magubane died last week at the age of 91. Well, our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Semosa, joins us now. Hello, Innocent. How much prepared is the government for the resumption of, the hearing at the International Court of Justice?
Hello, Layo. Greetings to you and our viewers around the world. It's always good to be with you. Yeah, so President Cyril Ramaphosa said that South Africa has a strong case. He also mentioned that they have got a strong legal team consisting of people from, some of them are based in the UK, and also the likes of John Ducat, who is one of the leading if you like, a legal eagle in the space of international relations. So he also mentioned that he's happy the fact that there are more women who are represented in the team that is going to represent South Africa in the International Court of Justice. But Layo, it's also important to remind our viewers that this comes at the back of it's been prepared by the Department of International Relations, which is led by Minister Naledi Pandor, and also the Ministry of Justice, which is led by Minister Ronald Lamola, with also the presidency, which is led by President Cyril Ramaphosa. We now know, Layo, that the Minister of Justice, Ronald Lamola, will make opening remarks at the court, and then there he'll be followed by South Africa's legal team to present their case, Layo.
All right, even as we await tomorrow, how are South Africans reacting to this? Are they keen to see the outcome of this case? And also, what exactly, is the government hoping to achieve?
Well, what they want to achieve is what they call an end to what they call atrocities in Palestine, particularly in Gaza. You've been seeing President Ramaphosa wherever he is. He's been really quite vocal about the issues that are currently unfolding in Palestine, and quite keen that South Africa is really standing with Palestine. In fact, any opportunity he gets, be it United Nations, be it when he's wearing his ANC political hat, he would always stand in solidarity with Palestine. So I think what they say they want to see, it's an end to what they call atrocities, and they also mention this. They identify this as a crime against humanity. So they want this to come to an end. So, but also they said that they're doing this as a matter of principle because of their forebears, the likes of former President Nelson Mandela. You would recall at some point he also mentioned that South Africa's freedom is not free until the people of Palestine are free. So in fact, they are following to what their forebears told them to do. But I guess it's quite clear now that the support for Palestine coming out of South African government is really unwavering, to say the least, Layo.
All right, then let's move away from the case today. The country laid to rest prominent anti-apartheid activist Peter Magubane in Johannesburg. Talk to us about today's ceremony and what he would be remembered for.
100% Layo. What a great loss to the industry. In fact, I didn't know much about Mr. Magubane. I went to do a research. I come to understand that he was quite remarkable. He would look for different angles to tell the story, and he told the apartheid story extremely well. And one thing that really stands out with his work, Layo, is that he would really be remembered for his tenacious spirit and for his bravery. You would know that back then, during the apartheid era, there was no freedom of press. People would disappear and they don't know where they are. But for him to carry out his duties in that kind of environment, it's quite remarkable. So I must say that he would be remembered for his bravery. He would be remembered for his craft, how he carried himself, how he was telling the story with the pictures. I mean, the way President Ramaphosa also described him, I think they don't just give, provincial funeral to anybody. For him to get that, it just goes to show that he was someone who was really prominent. I mean, the fact that he covered the June 1976 uprising, the pictures that we're seeing today, most of them, they were taken by the likes of Mr. Magubane. So he would indeed be remembered. It's a great loss, a great, great loss for the industry, Lyle.
Oh, condolences to the family and also to South Africa. But that would be all. Thank you so much, South African correspondent Innocent Samosa.
Thank you so much, colleague.
Thank you for staying with us. We continue in Mali. About 25,000 tons of Russian grain have arrived at the port of Guinea in the capital, Conakry, and the grain will be handled in Guinea and before being shipped to Mali. Well, the president of the High Council of Malians in Guinea, Mohamed Sidibe, believes these shipments will help stabilize the price of bread in the country. On his part, the Director General of Mali's Agricultural Produce Authority, Ousmane Dembele, says revenue from the sale of Russian grain will be used to supply the local market. Oh, back in August 2023, speaking at the BRICS Business Forum, Russian President Vladimir Putin had promised 25,000 to 50,000 tons of grain to 6 African countries free of charge. Russia's initiative was launched after the Black Sea grain agreements expired on July 17. Well, the Black Sea grain deal was signed in Istanbul between Russia, Turkey, Ukraine, and the United States. We're in the DRC now, where the Constitutional Court has rejected 2 challenges to the results of last month's contested presidential election. As a result, the court has ruled that incumbent President Felix Tshisekedi has indeed received 73% of the vote. This validation comes despite independent observers reporting widespread irregularities during the December 20 vote. Well, the poll was also said to have been marred by several logistical problems, which the opposition allege were part of a deliberate plan to rig the results in favor of Mr. Tshisekedi. However, the Constitutional Court ruled that the reported irregularities could not have impacted overall results owing to the wide vote margin between the incumbent president and Mr. Katumbi, who came second with 18% of the vote. Health matters now. Zambia is expecting to receive 1 million cholera vaccine doses from the World Health Organization amid an outbreak that has killed 249 people since last October. The health advisor to President Hakainde Hichilema says the doses will be deployed to the most at-risk regions and are due to arrive by Saturday. According to Roma Chilengi, officials will try and prioritize places where the outbreak is the deadliest. President Hichilema is also expected to visit the main treatment center at the National Heroes Stadium to inspect response treatment and measures. The government has delayed the reopening of schools as a result of the outbreak and rolled out further preventive measures in a bid to contain the disease. An audit report in Uganda says more than 5.6 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines bought on loan by the government have expired. The vaccines are valued at 28.1 billion Ugandan shillings and were purchased using a World Bank loan. Authorities say the expired vaccines will be withdrawn from health facilities and destroyed. Well, in the report submitted to Parliament, Uganda's Auditor General John Mwanga also said that other drugs worth $8.6 million, mostly HIV antiretroviral drugs, have expired also after they were phased out by changes in recommended treatment guidelines by the WHO. Authorities expect that the total losses from expired COVID vaccines to surpass $78 million by the end of this year. Migration activists are sounding the alarm about mass expulsions and arbitrary arrests in Tunisia, where authorities are seeing more migrants arrive for attempted Mediterranean crossings to Europe. The Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights is accusing the government of waging a campaign of repression against migrants at the expense of humanitarian concerns, According to the group, witness accounts indicate the situation has become particularly dire around Tunisia's border with Libya and Algeria, as well as around the country's second most populous city of Sfax, a common stopover point for migrants aiming to cross the Mediterranean. It is now imploring the government to end the deportations, provide migrants a safe haven, and also to update laws to allow those without papers to obtain some sort of legal status. And as Nigeria awaits the completion of the rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt refinery, residents of the host community in Eleme local government area of Rivers State are challenging the federal government to be true to its promise. They say it is important for the government to sustain the hopes that were raised in December 2023 when it carried out a flare startup to demonstrate the mechanical completion of the rehabilitation process.
The mechanical completion of the rehabilitation of Nigeria's oldest refinery in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, which culminated in the flare startup of last month, did not only cast a glimpse of hope on the nation's oil and gas-driven economy, but also on the operation of micro-businesses in the host communities. The oldest refinery, with production capacity of 60,000 barrels per day, and another plant with 150,000 barrels per day production capacity, are situated in one complex in Eleme local government area. Before this recent rehabilitation, the moribund refineries led to an automatic collapse of businesses within the surrounding communities of Alessa and others. Activities like the supply of essential items and leisure were badly affected. This area opposite the refinery complex that was once a bubbling business district is now a shadow of itself. The offices owned by the Petroleum Tanker Drivers and Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, are deserted.
At least we record minimum of
St. Mube is one of the past beneficiaries of the once booming economy. He earnestly wishes things could return to normal.
Businesses are not coming. All the people that used to come to Eleme, houses, people that have properties for renting and all that, they all lost their clients. Offices were shut down. The whole place became desert and all that.
For local businesses to come back fully, the various aspects of refining operations, from the supply of crude to the actual refinery and the distribution of products at the depot, must be completely restored. While concerted efforts are on to revamp the plant at Area 5, the loading gantry at the depot, where the bulk of the scut works are provided for the locals, remain in ruins, with no sign of rehabilitation work yet. A young local contractor says his hope will only be raised when effective work begins at the depot.
Crude feed to the Port Harcourt refinery comes from the Port Harcourt refinery jetty at the water side. And so they use barge and then pump to the refinery before they can commence processing. But if you go to the jetty now, the jetty was consumed by fire. The Port Harcourt depot in itself, if you go now, it's a ghost place, like a ghost burial ground. It's all wheat grown. The place is overtaken by wheat. It's usually a crowded place, so much activities. You see food vendors, you see petroleum tanker driver, you see the IPMAN people, you see IMB people. It used to be a very noisy place, but if you go there today, it's a ghost of itself.
Apart from the Port Harcourt refineries, Eleme is home to other federal government economic assets, but the bad nature of the road makes local businesses in those areas suffer a similar fate as the ones around the refinery. While residents await the complete rehabilitation of the refineries, these youths from the area are also urging the federal government to fast-track the reconstruction of the Eleme axis of the east-west road to ease the haulage of petroleum products and goods from the plant and the Honor Port, which is also situated in that vicinity.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.